All right, guys, today we're going to talk about how we do tapered legs at the jointer table. Now, we don't do this very often, but I actually activated the brake on my saw stop today, so we're not going to do it on the table saw. We're going to go old school. We're going to do it on the jointer. So the first thing you want to do is you want to mark out which two sides you want to put your taper on. If you're doing a four-sided taper, I do not recommend trying to do that at the table saw, but we're going to be doing a two-sided taper on these 12-quarter maple legs. And the second piece of information, once you know which sides you want to taper, is the depth of your taper you're looking for. To set the depth of your taper, how much thickness you're going to take off, you're going to adjust the height, or the offset rather, of your infeed table to half the height that you want your total material removal at. So in this case, we set ours at 1/2 inch because we're going to do a 1-inch taper, which is going to take this 2 3/4 down to about 1 3/4 at the bottom of the leg. The second dimension that we're going to set is the length of our taper, how far up we want to taper. And in this case, we're going to go almost all the way to the top. This is a 28 3/4 inch leg, and we're going to taper about 20 inches of that on the jointer. So to set that distance, the height of our taper, we're going to set our outfeed block here to half the distance that our total taper wants to run. So in this case, we're doing 10 inches, and that 10 inches runs from the end of your stop block to the highest point of your jointer knives. So once you figure that out, you're going to set your stop block, and I like to clamp it to my fence, but you can clamp it however makes sense. If you have a magnetic clamp, even better, that'll work perfect. So the first step, once we've set up everything, is we're going to run our first pass. I like to use the fence, but you don't have to in this operation. We're going to push through the blade until we get to our stop block, and then we're going to stop. I like to do all of my legs at once on this step. So I'm going to do my first pass here. I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to do my second pass, or rather my first pass on the other taper, and I'm going to go through all my legs, and then we're going to come back here and I'll show you what the next step is. So at the end of step one, this is what you're going to have. It's going to be a nice flat that's parallel to your other face, and you're going to have a nice little scalloped cut, and that is what we're going to use in the next step, which I'll show you here in just a minute once I do all the other faces, to create our nice, clean, tapered leg. So that's what your end of step one should look like, roughly. All right, so now that we've got the tapers, step one, on both of the faces we're going to taper, we're going to move on to step two. And to do step two, we're going to actually flip. We were jointing this way, we're going to flip it around 180 degrees, and we're actually going to make this into a ramp that we're going to run through the jointer just like this, and this is going to actually catch because it's the same distance. It's going to cut right into that middle, and it's going to give us the exact tapered leg that we're looking for. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. And boom, just like that, we have our nice tapers, 2 3/4 at the top, 1 3/4 at the bottom. And it is actually, we changed it after I first said this, but we actually went to 24 inches, so we'd have 4 inches to attach the apron at the top. Not bad.